Today on Heralds and Fools, we're going to be playing a new game. It's called Clip Roulette. I have a bunch of surprise clips that our creatives do not know about. This is Kevin, our DP, and Seth, our lead animator. So we're going to find out the behind the scenes on how these clips were done. We're going to see what made them possible, and hopefully we'll learn some lessons along the way. Welcome to Clip Roulette. Welcome to Heralds and Fools, the podcast where we talk shop. We talk about client projects, passion projects, the nitty-gritty details of what makes creative life so fun. Hey guys, welcome to Scene Roulette. Are you ready?
I don't know if I can be.
Yeah, I don't know either. All right, well, we're going to dive right into it. One thing I will say, if you're listening to this on Apple and you don't have access to video, this is really a video podcast. We're going to be watching the scenes and breaking it down in detail. So it will not make sense without reference to the video. So hop on YouTube at Coronation Media. All right, let's jump in.
Scene one. Oh, jeez.
That's my line. Visit FAFSA.gov and apply today. That's literally my line.
Whoa.
Oh, my.
This is way better than what we budget for. Let's keep rolling. Action.
As Emma just so beautifully demonstrated,
Visit FAFSA.gov and apply today. We hope to see you on campus soon.
he's flying by again.
Okay, can someone please get legal on the phone?
All right, clip number one.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
I think this was probably one of the first projects.
This is the very first thing I did, when I got here.
It's quite the intro to Coronation. Welcome to working here. Do this.
Yeah.
Make a plane.
Yeah. So I didn't make the plane, fortunately. I don't know where
It was
all the
probably,
assets were
like-
here when I got here.
Yeah, it was probably when it was probably like CG Trader or something. It was probably a free asset too at that point.
Yeah. So I feel like the last shot with the drone shot,
Yeah.
that doesn't have
No, it
too
doesn't.
bad. No, yeah. The other one, it's a little rougher or something from the floor.
Yeah. And
But
We were also asking a lot of you when we tossed you that stuff. We were
well,
like,
yeah, because we did this all before you even got here. I think we had
Yeah.
shot that all, and then you came in, and you're like, "I'm a really good animator," and we're like, "Okay, cool. This is the first thing we're doing."
I know a little bit of 3D, and then here's a VFX shot.
This whole project is so wild. I actually did load up another scene too, because Kevin, you worked on this as well as the DP. Can you go back to the clips, Jeremiah? Because I have another follow-up scene here, which just kind of gives context. This whole thing was basically Mount St. Mary's they are welcoming students who have been accepted, and they're encouraging them to engage in a couple checkpoints that they use it for, but it's for additional financing through FAFSA, or it's come and do a meet and greet. It's you're accepted. This is your congratulations. Now let's do the necessary legal things after unnecessary things. But the whole idea was that the mascot, these kids, this is the whole thing. We shot this all in a day too. It's crazy. These kids were making the video themselves, which is why we have this office conception. But here, let's look at that follow-up. Just clip. And Emmett keeps messing up. Emmett is their mascot, and he keeps messing up their staged video because the viewer will find out he is trying to do a plane fly through. It's just, one of the normal videos you make here.
Welcome,
Yeah, so this is
students.
it.
Take one.
And the whole idea was to make it look
All right,
like
everyone.
we had kind of have a little bit of The Office or Parks and Rec, zero budget or very low budget, leaning in on the students to act. And Kevin, I don't think you had any time to do setups for this either. It's we
a
probably
really
had
fast
8
shoot.
setups. And I'm teeing all the
What are you doing?
Hey, buddy, I know you're excited about the new students too, but we're filming here.
So anyway, yeah, you can pause. The why I'm saying that is we hadn't done anything to really prepare for a motion tracked airplane
Yeah.
or anything before we teed you up.
Well, neither did I. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared at all.
But
But
we had Emma running across a field with a C stand with a tennis ball at the top, with the idea of kind of getting eye lines. I don't know if that helped you at all.
like tracking the tennis ball.
It
for
wasn't
the
to
plane?
track the tennis ball, and we should definitely throw clips of this up because it's still one of the weirdest shots we've gotten. We do a whip pan away from the students, and
Yeah.
then we have Emma running down that hill holding a C stand at full extension or something like that with a tennis ball on top. And our thought was, at least we'll get eye lines for the students.
Okay.
And then we gave a blank. We could also have just had them look up.
Yeah.
But I was like, in my mind, I was like, we are doing this with no frills. Like, we're just run and gunning this thing, but it's kind of a high concept proportionate to what our time is. Maybe at least if the students are looking in the same direction, it'll help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what did you do? How
Yeah.
did you accomplish this this miracle of
Yeah.
VFX?
Is there, Jeremiah? Could you don't have to like frame through, but like because there's a couple different sections there. Could you just to so I can look at, especially that first one, like
Yeah. Let's watch that first.
what was going on
The
there.
first shot there. And you can kill the sound too, Jeremiah, for us if you don't mind. Cool. Okay. So if the plane fly over, yeah.
So it's a combination of Blender and After Effects for the composition. So I had the plane asset. And then there was it wasn't just a plane asset that I was given though.
Yeah.
You also had a like a 3D scan
Yeah.
of Emmett of
Yeah.
the mascot
Yeah.
because you had the suit too, and that's
Yeah.
where the next shot was because then
Yeah.
somebody was dressed up in the suit.
Yeah, it was Jason. It was dressed up in the suit.
But then even this in the second shot, the I think the plane is CG. There was no real plane, so
No.
I feel like that looks.
It looks pretty
I'm like,
decent.
yeah, that kind of works.
What I basically what happened was we were gonna bring you on, but this before we were even bringing you on, we had this project, and I was like, and I'm always noodling and trying to do new things, and been watching way too much Corridor, and I was like, polyscan is the way to go. So I told the Mount, and this is like a cool moment as an alumni of the Mount. I was like, give us the costume, like give us the Emmett costume.
Yeah.
And so we had it in studio, and Jason put it on, and we had and this was a long effort for him because he had to stand up, and we had two C stands with tennis balls. That was really the theme of this, was C stands with tennis balls. And he was standing in a T pose for like, it probably took like 30 minutes to just like rotate, because we tried to make it take we took a long time with it. It could even go much quicker, but we were like taking our time.
Yeah, we only got a good
I think we did
scan.
it twice. And then we had the full asset, which from a that's why you can see in that first shot he's in there, because that's the poly scan of Emmett, and then we didn't have to model it, and it's so far away. I was like, this will work, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember probably details that don't matter, but
Go for it.
then on the back of it is a cloth sim of the FAFSA.gov or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I think there was probably a fan like blowing it so that it kind of had like the
you're talking about
floppy.
Emmett inside, or what do you
no there was a fan
in Blender.
There's a virtual fan blowing the banner on the back so that it kind of has a floppy whatever to it, so it looks like he was going. I can't remember if he flies across screen. If I don't think I tracked that shot at all. I think I just
you just eyeballed
which
it.
maybe that's kind of what I'm seeing too.
We should look at it again. You can keep that timer running. Let's just go back and see. And I should say the reason Mount St. and then we can cut this in because you're right, it is FAFSA.gov. I just want to re-explain this video. The idea with this video is that accepted students, these are kids who have been accepted to the Mount, probably still need some financial aid. This isn't saying, hey, look, we're excited you're coming to campus.
Mm-hmm.
Now is the time to get FAFSA all together so you can be enrolled. So it's like a fun reminder, but it's a lot easy. It's a lot more fun than just an email that goes out to them. All right, so let's look at that first shot again. I don't think that you motion tracked it because
No, because it's well.
Nah, maybe you did. It's not drifting.
There's a little, yeah. That might have been like an After Effects track. I think
Okay.
it wasn't much. Like it's not. He's not. Whatever.
See, like 3D tracked.
Yeah,
in
he's
Blender.
not like put into a specific 3D space, but
I think this last shot, actually, these two look really fun and they worked really well.
Yeah, that shot worked really
I think
well.
that looks really good. And then I think this one looks, the camera shake you at it at the end, I think really sell it. Like,
yeah, yeah. So that one had
eat it, ILM.
Yeah, so that has a 3D track from the drone footage and then the plane is tracked in, so it's actually moving. You
Like
could
through
say
space and
through
whatnot.
the space, yeah. And then I think I just tried to emulate the lighting. I don't think we had an HDRI from
I
that
don't
one
think
either.
I
The
should
first
have
one I
gotten
think I
an
had
HDRI. Did you? I have an HDRI.
I think the first one I did.
Yeah, I think I remember you taking one.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
Corridor Digital.
Yeah.
It's
But
telling me
the
what to do.
yeah, the second shot, no. So I just added a sunlight or something to try to, and I think it. But again, that has a banner, and I really struggled to get that banner to kind of do what I wanted there. And,
Yeah.
But that's just
Because we should say, I
my-
mean, that's a simulation.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So with simulations in Blender, it's not like you have full control over how it goes. It's running a mathematical, like sort of randomized sim,
Yeah.
and then you
Mm.
bake it when you're done. So you sometimes have
Right.
to sim it a few times, change parameters a little bit.
Yeah, so you're setting like how much it stretches, how much it can twist and bend and all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah, and I had done cloth sim like maybe one time before I
Yeah.
came here just to be like, oh, I can do that in Blender. And
Nice.
then and then
then we're like, now we need you to do it.
yeah, yeah.
Actually put it in something.
So but I it's just another one of those things you learn so much
Yeah.
just doing it, and then yeah, comped it in. I think I maybe used Super Comp, which is another plugin
Yeah.
from Red Giant
Yep.
in After Effects, and that does a lot of the work too, because I was just a compositing novice as well.
Yeah.
You probably have to cut all this stuff out where I say I was just
A novice.
untrained.
No, I mean,
had
it's
no
a
idea.
while ago, and also like,
Yeah,
but
this
that's
is 2 years ago. I did
Yeah,
this.
I think part of the like excitement about projects like that is like this was a low budget project, but it was one where it's like you have a creative angle, and we had done Emmett being a goofball. We had done a version of this video a long time ago, and it was much simpler. It was like balloons, air horns. It wasn't extreme. So this time, the client really liked the idea of like doing some crazy stuff, and it was a low budget video, but it was also like it could look jank. It could look
Yeah.
janky, and it would be rewarding, and just it wouldn't. You don't need to believe that it's a real thing, but I think it looks pretty good. I think all things
Yeah.
considered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What-
so it
pretty
was
good.
super fun. Definitely not the shot that I thought we would be looking at today.
Yeah, no, I know. I pulled that one out because like that's the fun part about this. I can't like this idea is like just you guys don't know what it is, and we've done so much stuff, and some of it is like on the website and on the masthead, and some isn't.
Yeah.
Talking about filming it a little bit because you were on the crew. I was more leading the shit. It wasn't. I wouldn't say this was like a very DP forward video. But there was a couple decisions we made from a DP's perspective to make it like more fun and fill the form better. And one of them was like shooting with how did we shoot all the zoom stuff? Were you just
I think that was just a C200 with just a like an L series.
and you were
lens.
just so the part of this thing is that like that office style with the rapid zooms, is like a style that we were emulating. But we didn't have a controlled zoom thing. So any of those crash zooms you had to
It was just,
do by hand.
It was a barrel.
Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
it worked pretty good.
Yeah. Came out fun. I mean, like it definitely accomplished what we were going for.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it was a fun video.
But then shooting it too, we shot on a green screen, and we do have BTS images I'd love to throw up of this, but it's like on a green screen, yeah, out. And I think this was just as far as set things, we did not have our studio now. Like now we have a big studio with studio space, but back then we were in this small office park, and we didn't have anywhere to film with a green screen. So
I think I was working in my office was in where the studio used to be.
yes, exactly. And
So
we had 3 desks or something in there at that point.
and all the gear as well.
And we tried to set up the green screen outside in the lawn, And I think you were like, this is not going to work, guys. This is a bad idea.
It's too
And
windy.
And I said, we'll make it work. We'll make it work. And then the green screen ended up tearing because of the rain or the wind, like just started blowing away.
The big old sail.
Yeah. And then we moved up and we shot against the building.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally like we're holding with fishing wire the little scarf he's wearing to like pull it. And we have a big fan we're blasting in his face. And it was fun.
Yeah.
It's definitely a fun thing. And thanks to Jason for being a sport and wearing that for like 3 hours probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, that was that Accepted Students Day video.
The fond memories.
So is
it's definitely one of those videos where it's just kind of like, it feels like old, like before, like it, I don't know. It was just like where you just get the experiment stuff.
Yes.
And I think that's what was enjoyable about that one. So like we're kind of like flying by the seat of our pants because it's a little bit like out of our but it was at the same time we had a vision, but it was just like we're trying stuff that we've not necessarily tried before.
And it was also riffing without like not because we had done some complicated stuff that was more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like we were bringing on external resources. It was like, or help, like, or no freelancers.
Yeah.
We're just like, we're going to brute force this. And then we brought Seth on and,
yeah. Good job.
Yeah, and he figured it out. Awesome. All
So
right.
go
ahead.
To what extent did you try to capture that like office look, or like that it's being made to the, like, was it in the lighting and other stuff, or like?
A lot of it was like just having so we had like 2 camera setups. We had one that was like the actual interview that was happening, and then we kind of had like a BTS-esque video. So there's like, I guess, kind of 2 different like scenes that are being captured.
What were his? Do you remember what the A-cam was offhand? I don't.
I would. Wow. So this is I think it might have been the helium actually.
Yeah. So our A camera that's like on sticks.
Yeah.
Red. And then the C200
was just like a free flying, we were just kind of whipping that around as kind of like behind the scenes, plus trying to get like office style stuff whenever Emmett was doing his shenanigans.
Yeah.
I remember
gotcha.
relying a lot on the sort of like top light, the corporate lighting they have in all the offices, but we did throw some things up.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Emmett is sewing the fabric for the banner.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we had to, that took a lot more lighting than I thought it was.
This was a dark little room back there.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing crazy, but it was probably like, it's probably like 4 of us or something running around, and then made sure we brought Emma to run around the campus with a C-stand with a tennis ball in the end.
That's cool. What did you do? You know what? Did you shoot that first VFX shot on the red, or?
No, that was C200, I think.
Okay. So it definitely doesn't feel like it had the dynamic range or something on it.
Well, that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
Is like the shooting on the C200s is like letting it be not trying to fool you that it's not a C200, because C200s can look awesome, but like if you're just trying to make it look video, it's easy to do that.
Yeah, very. Yeah, you can break it pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure. There's no dynamic range.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't put this in, but I do remember when seeing some of the footage when I first got here, and then I see this footage and like I think I had to pick whatever shot for that stuff. I was like, these lenses are so dirty. Like what?
You can definitely keep that in.
Like, who are these guys that I just signed up?
You don't realize we purposefully dirtied the lens. You know,
that was part of it.
Well, the students were shooting.
Yeah, right.
It was supposed to be from the students. No, they definitely were using our cheapest lenses, because that was one of the things, is like we've sort of built ourselves. We don't do like event stuff. We don't do anything. So we have a whole nother set of lenses we typically use.
Yeah.
And these were some of our older lenses that basically now we're only using for like back behind the scenes photography, and for like this is the lens kit that we'd have. So they're very much our backup lenses. And I know that wide angle one is really jacked up. Like that lens that we use, and we almost never use it. I think, and you said probably like 4 years ago.
I was like, this thing, you got to get a new wide lens. This thing, there's something wrong here. I don't know what it is. I still like, it's weird because like sometimes we'll use it and it looks fine, and then other times it's like, this looks awful. But
yeah, these are not our. I understand why you would be like, who are these guys?
Okay, they're a little more run and gun than what I was used to. But
I remember we were shooting, and this was with JP Summers, who's a great DP. We're shooting a Silvercrest spot up in New York, and I remember this is just my one dirty lens story. And he was filming with, and he had what are those lenses he had?
Airy primes.
Yeah,
Ultra primes.
No, ultra primes. Yeah, he had these ultra primes, beautiful lenses. And one of the people he was interviewing at Silvercrest was like, "Oh, I'm a photographer, you know, like I love that." And he goes, "Oh, actually, your lens is a little dirty." And JP just takes his shirt and rubs it, and then the guy was like freaked out. And then JP goes, "It's just character," and kept shooting. It's just like, I just thought it was so funny because JP is an amazing DP, but his spirit is very much like, it's cool.
If it works, it works.
And it looks good. Yeah, it's funny.
Before you know it, boom, they fall. The Israelites are exiled in a foreign land. Their temples destroyed. The land is burned. Families are separated. And even though God tried to warn them and tried to rescue them, they just wouldn't follow God. Everything seems hopeless. We're in exile. How will things get better? Well, sometimes the light of God is clearest in the darkest moments.
oh yeah.
One of the lights in the darkness is Daniel.
Encounter.
Daniel is a holy man of God. He's got a legit
There's gonna be
prayer life.
another
He's a
clip.
prophet
I
of
pulled
God.
another clip,
Daniel's
too.
not
It's
going to
gonna follow.
abandon the law. He'll follow God's word, even in the darkness of exile. Daniel's thrown into the lion's den, and the door is sealed shut. Take a second now and check out the story for yourself in Daniel chapter 6.
This is the part where students go to their Bible and read that. I love this.
Oh.
Hey! You hanging in there, buddy? Talk about a difficult situation.
All right, let's pause it there. All right, Encounter.
Wow.
This was probably another one of your early projects.
Yeah,
with
it was like
us.
the second project.
Just picking the early stuff, you know. But this was a project with something like 80 minutes of animation
Yeah, it was
all
crazy.
together. It's a big project. And Encounter is basically, it walks through the whole Bible of the big different stories in the Bible for students, middle school students, functionally. And it has a bunch of different animation styles. But I teed this one up because I thought it was fun interactions between the live action and the animated world. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, the Encounter was another one where I feel like I came. This is just like a thing about me first coming to Coronation now, but I just didn't really. I learned how to do green screen, on Encounter and the Emmett thing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
and the Emmett thing because I did key him there, but
You did a great job on keying both of those
The keying
things.
is really,
thanks.
Yeah, really good because there's a lot of like his hair is lighter and keying through that is tough and
yes, that was a struggle. Like I realized at some point, and it was probably just driving in the car. I was like, oh, this is one of those moments. So because I would have the whole thing keyed, but then like he would move his hands, and that had a problem, and because the motion blur would mess things up or whatever, and it was just a certain additional effect to help with the keying that was causing it. So I'm like, how do I not do that there?
Yes,
but I do need that effect up on his head with his hair, like you're saying, keying through his hair and stuff. And so I realized I needed to break it, like mask it, and do several different parts, all keying the same thing to build that image. I just that was a totally new concept to me.
Yeah,
and I don't know what dawned on me or where
I mean,
heard
that's
it,
that's a really good thing to learn, and probably was tough to learn while you're trying to get these shots out.
Yeah,
but that's like something where I think the conception that people have is that green screen is just like a quick solution.
Just push a button,
and it's not. It's not, because even when you're filming this, so the whole creative angle on this was that you see the studio. We often go back to the studio, and it's part of the creative is that we see the lights and we see the behind the scenes. Actually, both of these, the creative, I guess we're in a period of creative
That
period at
meta
Coronation.
period.
Yeah, where it was a little meta. But even when you're filming, you have to change the shutter speed and things to get things crisper. And it's never going to be perfect, but you get the things crisper on that in order to get those keys. But it does take a lot of garbage matting and a lot of time to get good keys off things. I mean, you did great. It works really well.
Yeah, thanks. And that was a super comp too. The Red Giant effect, super comp as well, to try to integrate him into the animated scenes. But anyway, then he does the flashlight thing, and I think I just tracked the flashlight and then parented the little beam to it, and that it went pretty smoothly. Even that I'm sure at first I was like, oh geez, how do you even begin?
It's funny because going back to it now, I know that, there was a big project with tons and tons of animation. We had 3 different animation styles, and we'll show some clips of the different animation styles. But it was like a consideration where we're like, we have so much material, a Bible's worth of material to cover, and different sort of emotional needs for different scenes. And so we bucketed them into 3 different categories because they wanted variants too for being in middle school. And some of the angles are like the most simple sort of like vector character animation, and the other ones are this mixed media style. And then the other one is we have like a real kid come on, and we're pretending that he's like a really crazy artist and he's drawing all these wild pictures, so we can lean into the humor of it a little bit. But just talking about that, why I like that mixed media, and you did a lot of fun stuff with the character faces, and you got a lot of character performance out of those little guys, even though it's simple. Talk about building those rigs and setups rigs.
I don't know. I look back at that time of myself as an animator, like compared to now, and I was just so I was so much more hungry and ambitious than I probably am right now. Because I was like, just give me, because I was just wanting to animate something, and then you gave me characters and everything, so I probably took more time than I should have, but rebuilt eyebrows and rebuilt arms and cut arms off and put them back on so that I could animate them and all this stuff. And so, and even I just watched that Daniel clip a little bit earlier too, and him getting thrown into the pit there. I'm sure it's just like unnecessary, like a bending and warping on his body that you don't even see, but I'm sure I had it in there. Yeah,
because I remember seeing that stuff, and I was like, oh, because you were only there for a few months at that point. And I was like, oh, this dude's got it. Like, he understands, and it's like took a lot of what we were doing to the next level. Because we were sort of maybe in the period of blasting through some of this animation, and you were coming in hungry, and also, you knew the principles and everything too. Yeah. But I love, and the way the eyes worked and stuff. I think we got a surprising amount of mileage out of some of these very simple things. I think that's why I think that whole Encounter series is so fun. But one of the things we were trying to do is marry the world. So I have another clip from Encounter, and let's pull that up, because I think this shows a little bit of what it took on the day to set it up. And this shoot was crazy. Because we booked out a studio to shoot it at, and then their next door neighbors were doing construction, and we had to pay them off. And I was like calling, I like had to go to contractors and be like, guys, I need you to go. And they're like, we have to hit a deadline. I was like, can you come back tonight and do this job in the middle of the night? Here's like whatever, $300 or something. He's like, great. And then like he called later, he's like, what time can I be there tomorrow? And I was like, oh, that's good. Like, are you doing good, man? I'm sorry to inconvenience you. He's like, oh no, it's all good. I'm in a bath with Epsom salts right now. And I was like, it's good, thanks, man. I was like, all right. It was a wild shoot. We did get it done. But anyway, let's watch this follow-up clip, because it shows a little bit of our strategy and a little bit of
laughed at or even excluded sometimes because of your faith.
And
but
sometimes
it wasn't easy for the early Christians either. A huge chunk of Acts is devoted to describing in pretty gnarly detail all the persecution and all the prejudice that they faced.
I just love that because it shows all the little pieces. It's a very simple shot, but there's a lot that went into that. Like on the day, we had all the beats written out of everything that was going to happen. And as much as possible, we were anticipating like what we would need in animation. And you had the lights flickering on the sides of his face on that.
Yeah.
And then we had to trigger that when he said certain things. And it shows the different types of animation too, because I think some of that is cell work. Can you just like hold it there? Yeah, this FX animation.
All that stuff from the Bible was Peter Ferguson.
Yeah, so that was all probably Toon Boom
really
or
fun
Procreate
stuff.
or something.
Probably Toon Boom. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have, so that's all Toon Boom, and that's all cell, and then it's tracked in with After Effects. The background is vector stuff that's animated in After Effects and moving. All run through Super Comp, probably. And then you have Kevin and running the team on the day, triggering the lights to make it work. And I think the end, it's really fun.
Yeah, it worked pretty good. It's a pretty simple effect, but it worked out pretty good.
Let's watch that clip one more time. I want to see it one more time. I just love this. This is like one of my, it's stupid, but this is like one of my favorite clips from it.
Or even excluded sometimes because of your faith. But it wasn't easy for the early Christians either. I mean, a huge chunk of Acts is devoted to describing in pretty gnarly detail all the persecution and all the prejudice that they faced.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want 80 minutes of that animation and you have a middle schooler, go use Ascension's Encounter and see all the work, because it was really fun. All right, let's move on to the next scene. I think this is going to be a wild tonal shift.
But ultimately what the school represents is bringing all of those things into one coherent vision of the human person who's been graced by God.
Oh man.
Talk to me about that, Kevin.
Oh, that was a tough day. That was a brutal day, but it was good. Basically to get those shots from pretty early on, that was just kind of like we were just tossing out ideas, and that was one of the ones we kind of landed on as like, okay, I think we want to try this as being just because it's a video about a school,
Trinity High School.
Shout and yeah, awesome people there, up in Harrisburg, I believe,
somewhere near there.
But yeah, so we were just trying to think of like what's something extra creative, that some creative sauce we can toss on this, because like a school like video can very easily be just like very generic and like get shots of students doing their thing, and obviously doing everything to like the highest degree possible,
which is one of their mottos.
Yeah, actually,
to the highest good, to the all of. Oh, you were just saying you obviously.
I'm just saying
generic.
Like, well,
to the
we were trying,
yeah.
So I guess we were doing it in the spirit of the school then. But yeah, it was a fun shoot because we were not only we were trying out some additional techniques. We got this dolly, this camera dolly that we were literally just pushing all over the place, just like
just on the floor,
like not even using tracks. Some of those came out pretty good, but when you're doing it on the floor, you're hitting little things
bumps
that you can't
stuff.
really control. But we got some pretty cool shots out of that, and even the one with the bumps we were able to pull out with like warp stabilizer and whatnot.
But talk to me about the overheads.
Yeah, getting off track. The overheads, that one we literally used a combo stand, and we took I think what was it? It was like a mini menace arm.
Okay.
But it didn't have like the center post, so it was a little bit more precarious than a normal menace arm. But it was a heavy rig. So basically we just jerry-rigged a Komodo, like attached it on the very end of this arm, and ran like power and video feed out from that, so it just keep it as light as humanly possible.
So it wasn't a tripod at all, like
no
tripod setup, or it did have a head on it, or
no. It
so
was
just
literally yeah
clamped
just
to the end.
Clamped to the end of this thing. And we got the biggest stand we had, this one combo stand, and like
with wheels.
Nope.
No wheels. I love it.
We had to carry that sucker all over the place. It was very heavy. But yeah, when we just attached like a sandbag on the other side of the menace arm, and like
to keep it,
we just rocked it around. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and it was
awesome.
We would just kind of like find different scenes that we were recording, and be like, hey, this would be a good scene for this, using this rig. So basically, it wasn't we knew what we were recording. There were definitely certain scenes that we were during different classrooms and whatnot, and we would get like a normal coverage, and then if we had time, we would try to throw this in there and like to kind of get that extra sauce. And it ended up turning into a really good ending sequence for the video.
Yeah, I really love it. It's like a little bit of spice, and their whole thing is like, I think it's the highest good, and I was like, oh yeah. I think that was
that works.
Yeah, that looks good.
That was
We're up high.
That was
the way
that's what
God
you were
sees
thinking.
us.
Yeah, it's very cool. All right.
So a lesser man would have said that he needed to get a crane for that, but you just
No
clamped it
crane
on
for
a-
us. We were a 3-man band, and we were just using what we had.
I think that's
great.
I
Yeah.
love that stuff because so when we did, because we had done a video for Trinity a long time ago, and I was on that. We're also a 3-person set, and I was like, you know what this needs is we need this. Yeah, Trinity. We need this. We need the crane that now is like busted up, but the one
Still
big
works.
crane we have, and we were doing the same thing. We were wrecking it all around, and it made no sense, like proportionate. But like sometimes for smaller organizations, then they don't have like maybe the resources that larger ones does. If you are smart, you can think of fun, creative things.
Yeah.
And you don't have to just let it be the path of least resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta go crazy.
Oh, and there's a video on their website.
Oh, look at that.
Look
The highest good. It is the highest good. Let's tee up the next clip here.
Medicaid and SNAP now command well over 10% of the federal budget. Ensuring that all these taxpayer dollars are being spent effectively means being sure that the OPM, created almost 6 decades ago and, minus adjustments for inflation, essentially unchanged since then, is still working as any good poverty measure must.
Let's pause there.
That's a fun one.
I do love this one. All right. So this is for American Enterprise Institute, AEI. It's for their YouTube. They have a YouTube series called Policy
Lens.
Thank you. They have a YouTube series called Policy Lens. And the first episode just dropped. We've been working on this for a while. But I love this because it takes what sometimes is difficult about explainer videos that are relying on data, which is a lot of charts and a lot of numbers, and turns some very simple idea like a pie chart into a fun interaction.
Yeah.
So how'd you do that? And it's a little 3D-ish in there too.
Yeah, I think it's just all fake 3D on this one, but a lot of it comes like the boarding. I think was really important in this, which I didn't play a part of, but just having the concept that that little slice of the pie chart turns into the tip of the thing, and then whatever.
I believe that was Emma who boarded this. I could be wrong.
I think she was. Yeah, I think she was a big part of.
Yeah, I think it
development on
was.
this.
Yeah, Haley and Emma. So our director Haley worked on these, and really, I would say Haley really took this bull by the horns and took something where this series has a ton of different, what could be like very simple white papers, and turned them into fun animated videos.
Yeah.
And really was really the desire was quality of communication, but also aesthetic quality.
It was very fun to animate on these. Yeah. So I mean, breaking down, I guess what happens here.
Maybe play it without sound.
Yeah, play that.
There you go.
It's as far as what you're actually seeing.
I love that too. When it slides and then
Yeah,
it drops.
yeah.
It doesn't just unveil.
I love what Peter would probably call physics porn.
Okay.
Which I mean, I don't love it, but I love making it. I don't like anyway. But yeah, just whenever you get a chance to add some character to the rudimentary shapes, just by like it's kind of sliding, but then it doesn't. You just try to think of like what is a natural.
Yeah. What's a natural way that this could happen?
Yeah,
if it's a real
it's like
physical object.
You hold a ice cream tub upside down. It's gonna slide out there, and then when it finally hits, it's gonna really like smack.
Because the easy
really
way to
come
do
out
this
fast.
would just be like ease it out.
Yeah,
But having that little touch is just that a little bit more intention.
and that little bounce on it too. You know,
Yeah, totally.
Add a little, it just adds a little more interest. But then those shapes, what the 3D pyramid ish thing is really just 2D shapes.
2D shapes.
Yeah, just
with different shades.
That just fold out from each other. And yeah, I don't know where this idea came from with the reflection of the guy on the thing. It was just maybe to add some interest.
Yeah, I don't remember, because I know that like Haley and Emma and I had done some of the initial sort of like concepting together, and but one of the things we really wanted to talk about was like simple, but also have like inclusion of textures. And I don't know the source of the reflection, but someone here, the reflections add a lot.
Yeah, I think it makes it look so cool.
I think what I love about this is it shows how, like, even if the concept that you're needing to explain, even if you're doing it with simple or minimalistic graphics, there's still a lot of character that you can pull out of them. And even the way these things slide, the top, you can press play if you don't mind, even the way they like slide and he looks in to them is like a little subtle thing where it's like you're just playing off of those shapes and they're examining this poverty line concept. It's just, it's just fun.
Yeah. That was a cool one.
Yeah,
it was a fun one.
One other clip that I pulled from this one too, because Kevin, you shot this, right?
I did.
Yeah, so it's a standard explainer sort of format with a figurehead, a talking head, one of the scholars in this circumstances. They wanted us very simple, and Haley really wanted a simple, sort of editorial, beautiful sort of look to the footage. Very simple, but even getting that crisp. Even then, this as a framing mechanism, we knew we were going to use archival stuff. So using archival images within a context of this world. I love the 2D plane manipulation you're doing. It's such a subtle thing, and it's something that like viewers won't think about at all.
Yeah.
But like it makes it just more visually interesting very quickly and keeps people's eyes engaged if it's not just in the 2D world or a flat lay world, and that too.
Yeah, I forgot I did all this.
Yeah, I know, man.
Those are fun to they were fun to do. A lot of different techniques.
And deceptively complicated. Talk about the techniques.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, the sort of 2D plane manipulation of as if you're moving through space, and it's, you know, you're changing perspective and stuff. And some of that was 3D, like the line of all the presidents.
Yeah, okay.
The initial boards had it all laid out like they were
flat.
No, like tapering, and then I said, okay, I need this flat though, so I can do that on my own. So a lot of times there is artwork that's in the baked into the cake that I need to get.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's that I need actually a flat version so that I can then just readjust that and remake that.
Yeah, so we're talking about
a 3D.
A little bit process here, which is helpful because basically when we're doing videos like this, we'll do storyboards, we'll go back and forth with the client, we'll say like, this is what we think it needs to explain this concept. And we've done some really heavy topics in this series where there is a lot of like clarity that we need to build in with the storyboards. You get those approved, you do your style frame approvals where it's like, these are what these basic scenes are going to look like. But then when you go to animation, you often need it set up differently so that you can make it look like that in the end. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the one thing as an animator I have to always remember is that the style boards that you're given aren't king anymore. Yeah. Like they got approved and they're good, and I'm gonna try to hit them as close as I can, but also I mean I have the constraints of animation and software and time.
Yes.
We just can't put that much into all this stuff. So it's just trying to get as close as you can to those boards and that initial idea.
Yeah.
And this time, I think we hit it.
I think
pretty
so.
close.
Certainly,
you won't even notice. But
yeah, because like when someone designed that scene initially, let's say, and they had that tapering, they're building that taper into the PSDs or the After Effects or the AI files that they're building out. But then in order for that camera move to be facilitated, you actually have to put them in a real 3D setup so that you can get that perspective. And it's never going to be one-to-one.
Yeah, and if you looked at the frames next to each other, the style frame, and then the actual video, what came out, is it probably doesn't taper as much.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You just do what you can.
Yeah.
You're not. Yeah.
Totally.
Not beholden to the frames, but trying to think what other stuff was going on there.
You have the hand. I mean, that hand is an homage. Like, it's funny. The source of that hand style is something that, because this was Emma leading this on the style development, and we were in a big sort of pulling from Saul Bass. That just like watching the old Saul Bass title cards, that Saul Bass was like basically the grandfather of some modern motion graphics, really. Leading with this very stylized, designerly aesthetic, and he'd do like Hitchcock title sequences and stuff. But those hands are something that even if we aren't doing a 1-to-1, just like it definitely was like in our brains. We would talk about Saul Bass a lot and how like simple concepts could be put into simple motion and then yield heavier results than you'd expect.
Yeah. So technically with that hand, what I did, which I always like to do, is it's sort of like a parent chain.
Okay.
So you have the image of the hand, and then there's probably what you call a null object that the hand is parented to. So when you move the null object, the hand moves with it. And then there's another null, probably at the very tip of where the little
pencil or
the little pencil first touches down.
Yeah.
That the hand null is also parented to. So then the hand comes in by one, and then you animate that one, and then you animate the bottom one to do all the spinning and whatever, and you can rotate on that, whatever.
Let's watch that again. I want to see. Whoa.
And then once you're finished, you go back to animating the hand null. So
that way you can get that subtle, very subtle twist
without just animating the hand, which has its anchor point way up on the wrist. That would be a nightmare to animate that way. So I'm always just trying to think efficient, smart ways to animate.
Efficient, smart ways where you can get a little bit extra flavor on something that could be very simple. Because the easy way to do this would be a rigid hand that just goes in a circle and doesn't move and then pulls away. But you wouldn't get half as much character out of that.
Yeah. And then what's also going on here is it's every time it goes in front or behind, I have to cut it and then like layer it underneath the guys. And so there's just this like like 5 or 6 different layers there.
5 or 6, and that is the danger in the 2D plane.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing sometimes 2D, to get something simple is much more complicated than 3D. Because like if this was a 3D scene, the hand would physically the hand would be you'd have that extra Z depth, and then the Z depth would allow you would see the hand pass, just like on this can, you'd see the hand pass behind. But in 2D, if it's all flat plane, you have to cut and then stack the layer behind.
It's all layer based.
And I love how much work goes into the stuff that no one ever thinks about.
And that's also why it's so important to animate with the nulls too. So I just animate that one null, and then all those different hands that are on different layers, either in front of or behind people, they're still animating the same. And then if I have to make changes, all I change is that null a little bit. That's animation on the null, and then I'm good to go.
That's like practiced. That's someone who's done it a lot.
Yeah, I guess.
So that's I would make the mistake of not doing the parent chain, I'm sure. All right, let's go on. I think this clip is oh, nice. Very different.
Still.
I didn't sign a permission slip to watch spooky stuff like
that. I'm scared now.
Yeah. Well, speaking of scary, Let's talk about filming that scene. No, I'm just kidding. It actually wasn't that bad. It's a simple scene.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that went into the lighting on that.
Yeah, that took a long time to light. So, I was still pretty early on in my DP journey, so to speak. This is kind of like, I think I had only done like officially DP'd like a few commercial stuff at this point.
Yeah.
And so there's very much kind of figuring out as I went during this. But I knew that, like, I think one of the biggest things with it's just this is, I haven't heard this from anyone. This is just my opinion. So this is a Kevin special.
Okay.
But like, so much I feel like of being like a DP is just knowing what you want it to look like.
Yeah.
And like having a very clear end in sight. The skills by which you get to that end is what you learn as you become a better DP.
Yeah.
And like, I think also figuring out quickly what you want is another big thing. But like, I think this was good because you gave me a very clear understanding of like what you wanted at the very on the outside of this.
Yeah.
Which is like was a painterly kind of like centered shot. So I looked at some like old paintings and like oil paintings and whatnot, and a lot of times the subjects are very well lit and the backgrounds are all just like very dark.
Yeah.
They're all the background is there, but it's just like the subjects that are just lit. And I'm like, how do you get that in video? And I wasn't like, I figured that like, okay, if we just get a big source, we could just flag off a little
different
areas and we'd be okay.
Yeah.
It turned out to be way more intense, flagging wise.
There were a lot of flags, and this was a small room too. It looks bigger.
Small room.
It looks bigger on screen, because of our lensing, but it's a very small room.
Yeah. So we essentially had to makeshift. We didn't have an 8 crate, but basically all this was, it ended up being just like a big book light, to camera right, or actually no, that'd be camera left, so it's frame right.
Yeah.
And we essentially just created like a makeshift, and this is all thanks to our gaffer who like Robert, who had a lot of experience in this. He was like, oh, you guys are needing me. He's like, oh, you guys don't have an 8 crate? Well, we'll just do it the old school way. And just like,
explain that. What was it?
So essentially you, instead of having an 8 crate, which is basically a big like web, or essentially
it's like a web mesh that goes in front of a soft source.
Yeah.
Where it's like a grid.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically, what it does functionally is it allows the light to be more, you still have your soft source, so you still get a soft light, but it flags off the edges and keeps it more direct.
Yeah. Creates more direction out of it so that it doesn't spill all over the place. So we kind of have one here. We got a big skirt around our main key here so it doesn't spill into the background. But basically, Robert like set up all these different flags to kind of like fins going off of the book light, so that it all kind of like, it was still giving her a very soft light, but it was creating a lot of directionality with it, and that kept the background fairly dark and even, while lighting her well. There were some other things that were going on in this.
We'll go to the next shot too, because the other thing is we were shooting in the middle of the day. And the reverse shot, you can see the windows, which we never fully removed all the cars. If you do, you can watch this. It's online. It's on Omleto Drama YouTube, or Omleto Drama, whatever. YouTube, go Omleto. But back there, the 2 windows. Yeah. We tinted the building to get that to look at least a little evening-y.
Yeah, we this was another Robert special. Basically I think we had someone run out to the store and buy blue like bed sheets, and we put those in front of the window, and then we also put ND film in front of the window as well to darken it even more. Yeah. So kind of give a blue-esque. Ideally, we would have had like
like
CTB.
A blue gel. Yeah, CT. Yeah.
But we didn't.
It wasn't in the budget. This was also
big,
a low budget.
Yeah.
Theme for today was like these projects were low budget.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but this one was.
And this one, like, I'm pretty sure I worked off of the same, because it was like, I can't remember if we did this the same day. I imagine we would have done it the same day. But I'm pretty sure I just like worked off of the light that I had for the previous shot.
Yep.
I don't actually remember
this was
exactly
the same
how
day.
this was shot.
Well, actually, no, that's a good point.
It does look pretty different.
No, you're right, because basically, so we're working with a child actor who can do a certain number of hours per day, and he can only be working an active a certain amount of time, and our producers have to clock every minute that he's working versus when he's doing like offset with his mom doing homework. Like there are labor regulations that you have to follow. So you're right, that stuff with Morgan, that first shot, that was at a completely different time, and the room was too small because we're doing this as shot reverse shot. The room was too small to have the camera gear in between them. I don't think they were ever really interacting. We may have had Morgan play the scene off camera for Hudson so they could work together. Sorry. but this was a completely different setup. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, like, even like, this is something I learned from watching lots of behind the scenes with other DPs, is that like there's a lot like in ramping up for this is that like the light doesn't have to make sense. Like in the previous shot, you'd be like, oh, there's a big window to her left.
Yeah.
We go to this, it's like, why is it barely lighting him?
Yeah, right.
So like logically it doesn't make sense, but I think tonally we wanted to make him a little bit darker, a little bit more ominous.
Yeah.
To kind of give off a mysterious sense of like, what is this kid's role in this whole situation?
Yeah.
And I think it worked out pretty good.
One thing that I want to say as a complete aside is that oil lamp in the back is a real oil lamp. And we're shooting with real oil lamps all the time. And man, do they smell up the place. They stink.
Yeah. And it was a problem because our main actress was pregnant and she was feeling sick a lot of times from the oil lamp.
we ended up there were two things and Morgan wasn't the mother character in this and she was very pregnant. And the oil lamps had to go pretty quick. She let us know after a few scenes, and she was a trooper. Like, this is not a knock against her at all, but she was like, I don't think I can be around these oil lamps much longer. And then also fog too. We realized we had to not use fog half as much as we were for the scenes that she's in. But I think it turned out pretty good. And it's funny you mentioned the painting thing too, because I remember I was walking around in DC at the whatever that what is the Museum of Art down there? Smithsonian? I can't remember.
Oh yeah,
the Smithsonian Museum
in DC.
And I remember going around and there was one painting that was of a guy, and I don't know if I still have it, but it was a painting of a man. I don't know who the artist was, but it was just that quality of like a subtly off blue light in a warm room, and I was like, that's what I want this to look like.
Yeah,
and it was weird because I don't know why. I think just because it was in that sort of like late 1800s bow ties and suits, it felt like looking at those samples were appropriate. All right, let's move on to the next clip. I got a bonus clip for you guys, which neither of you guys worked on, but is one that I don't really ever show.
This is the part where we just
you can just respond. You can
Gary.
roast me. Yeah, let's go back. Oh. All right, so this is a bonus clip. I think that this is the first thing that Coronation animated together. It was me and Bill in the studio. I think this is our first test shot we animated.
Wow.
So what do you think? Especially you, Seth. What do you think of this? This is what this company is built on.
I think we are going downhill now. This is
the pinnacle. That was the best we've ever done.
Pull it up again. So this was early days. Bill was designing. I was like, we should do an animation test. I think we could do this MoGraph stuff. It'll be really fun. And so Bill designed that squid, and I still am bothered by the fact that his mouth is completely distorted by puppet pins, like to the point right there.
Oh, yeah, he's like smiling and then not smiling and then smiling again.
And it's because I didn't know how to wrangle puppet pins.
Yeah.
And
that's funny.
It has all the characteristics of early, I would say.
The flap.
After Effects.
I like the little flap on his head. Is like a little thing.
I think it's all puppet pins. I don't think I knew what I was doing at all.
I think
what's go ahead.
Sorry, it was also interesting that I just never think to do is sort of a mixed media where you grabbed like some stock acid of
splash
a
of
burst of ink, and
you don't think to do it. I wonder why you don't think to do it. Maybe because it's bad.
I like the water splashing up.
That's what we started. You like that? There we go.
I liked it. Yeah.
It adds something. Yeah.
Just like you don't really notice what it is.
That squid is also
like,
that ink is also a stock asset. If you couldn't tell.
Yeah. No, that's what I was talking about mainly.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So this was just a test, or
yeah, basically
for a client.
No, it was just a test. It was directly before we probably got our first paid animation job. We had done some like logo reveal stuff, but I think this was our first character animation thing at all. And I think it has a lot of the hallmarks of like someone who's just cracked open After Effects really for the first time. Like it has the Z space. You're like, wow, there's Z space. And wow, there's camera blur. And oh, there's a preset lens flare, you know? And it's just sort of like, I don't know. I look back on it fondly, but yeah, I think this is technically the first character animation that Coronation ever did.
I feel like the animation, just from I don't know, principles or whatever, like he blasts off, like you feel it. It's a good blast off. You know?
I'll take it, man. I'll take it. Bam. Yeah, it could
add a little more. It could punch a little harder.
I think we should dig out.
Yeah, it's in there.
We should redo this in Blender.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Next time.
Yeah, next time on Coronation. Hey guys, this is the new vision. No, I think it's fun, but yeah, it's so funny because I look back at this and I'm just like, I was like immediately, we were very oriented towards character stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the logo reveals and stuff was not what was doing it for me. I was like, I need it to be a character.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're started, and we'll see where we end up. You know, end up on another not chat roulette. End up on another clip roulette, scene roulette. I think scene roulette. I don't know what I said. Scene roulette.
I think scene roulette.
Well, thanks for going through some random clips, guys. What do you think?
It was fun.
Is it the best work we've ever done?
I think it was great. Yeah.
I think we peaked.
Yeah.
All right.
It's all downhill, boys.
To see if we peaked, join us on the next episode of Heralds and Fools, and catch us again on the next Clip Roulette. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yo.
I got a new game for you. What would Mr. Beast say? I gave these guys $10 million. I wish I could say that to you guys.